Daniel Reed walked through the airlock with Rex beside him, both of them entering the alien space station for the first time. The translator device in his ear crackled to life as voices filled the massive arrival hall. Hundreds of beings from different worlds moved around the open space, and every single one of them stopped moving when they saw what followed the human. Rex was a German shepherd, 90 pounds of muscle and fur with dark eyes that watched everything around him. His ears stood tall and alert. To Daniel, Rex was family. To the aliens who had never seen a dog before, Rex was something else entirely. The screaming started almost immediately. A tall, insect-like creature with 6 legs stumbled backward, its translator spitting out words of panic. 2 bird-like aliens took flight, their wings beating hard against the recycled air. A group of small furry beings scattered in every direction, leaving behind dropped packages and personal items. Daniel stopped walking. Rex sat down automatically, his tail sweeping the floor behind him. The dog looked up at his handler with calm brown eyes, waiting for the next command. Red lights began flashing along the walls. A loud alarm blared through the station. Heavy doors slammed shut at every exit, trapping everyone inside the arrival hall. Within seconds, security forces appeared from hidden panels, surrounding Daniel and Rex with energy weapons pointed directly at them. Rex remained sitting. His tail continued to wag slowly. A voice boomed through speakers mounted in the ceiling. The translation made it sound mechanical and cold. "Human diplomat, you have brought an unauthorized predator species to Harmony's gate station. Explain yourself immediately or face immediate deportation." Daniel raised his hand slowly, showing he held no weapons. "This is Rex, he's a service animal. He's completely harmless." The speaker voice responded without any warmth. "We have analyzed the creature through our sensors. It possesses bone-crushing jaw strength. Its teeth are designed to tear flesh. Its muscle density suggests extreme speed and power. The eyes face forward, marking it as a pursuit predator. How can you claim such a creature is harmless?" Around the hall, aliens whispered to each other. Some had pulled out recording devices. Others simply stared with whatever sensory organs they possessed. Fear hung in the air like smoke. Daniel looked down at Rex, who looked back up at him with absolute trust. "He's just my good boy." The translator struggled with the phrase. Several aliens made sounds that might have been confusion or disbelief. The speaker voice went silent for a long moment. Then a new voice came through, this one belonging to a being who stepped forward from the crowd. It moved on 6 legs, its exoskeleton gleaming under the station lights. 4 eyes mounted on stalks swiveled to examine both Daniel and Rex. "I am Ambassador Quilvin of the Chitauri Collective. I speak for the Coalition Council in this sector. What you call a good boy appears to us as a killing machine. Why would humans bring such creatures into space?" Daniel kept his voice calm and steady. "Where I come from, dogs have lived with humans for over 15,000 years. They're our companions, our friends, our family." A reptilian being pushed through the crowd, her scales shifting colors as she moved. She wore the markings of a scientist, and her eyes studied Rex with intense curiosity, mixed with obvious fear. "I am Dr. Hesha of the Soran Empire. I have studied your species files. Your data indicates these creatures descended from an apex predator called a wolf. You deliberately domesticated them." "We didn't domesticate them alone," Daniel explained. "They chose us too. It was partnership, not conquest." Rex yawned, showing all his teeth. Half the aliens in the hall flinched backward. Security forces tightened their formation. A massive bear-like creature in a security uniform moved forward, each step heavy enough to vibrate the floor. "I am Captain Borlan, Chief of Station Security." That creature just displayed aggressive behavior. "We cannot allow it to remain here." He yawned, Daniel said. "He's tired from the journey." "Look at him. Does he look aggressive?" Every eye in the hall focused on Rex. The dog sat perfectly still except for his wagging tail. His mouth hung open slightly, tongue visible. His ears remained up and forward, interested in everything around him but not tense. He looked almost happy despite being surrounded by weapons and frightened aliens. Ambassador Quilvin's eye stalks bent lower, bringing his gaze level with Rex. The creature maintains direct eye contact. In 70% of known species, this signals a challenge or threat. "In dogs, it means trust," Daniel replied. "He's watching you because I'm watching you. He follows my lead." Dr. Hesha took a tentative step closer, her scientific interest apparently stronger than her fear. The tail movement. "What does it signify?" It means he's happy, content. It's how dogs show positive emotions. Impossible, Captain Borlan growled. Predators don't show happiness in the presence of potential prey. It must be a hunting behavior. A lure, perhaps. Daniel felt frustration building but kept it out of his voice. Rex isn't hunting anyone, watch. He gave a simple hand signal. Rex immediately lay down on the floor, resting his head on his front paws. If he wanted to attack, would he obey commands that make him vulnerable? The aliens exchanged glances. Ambassador Quilvin spoke with the others in a series of clicks and whistles that the translator didn't process. Finally, he turned back to Daniel. The Coalition Council will convene an emergency session. You have 48 hours to prove this creature poses no danger to station inhabitants. If you cannot provide satisfactory evidence, both of you will be expelled from Coalition space. 48 hours, Daniel agreed. That's all I need. The security forces didn't lower their weapons, but they stepped back slightly, creating a wider circle. Ambassador Quilvin gestured toward a corridor. You will be escorted to secure quarters. The creature must remain contained at all times. As Daniel stood and gave Rex the command to heal, the dog rose smoothly and walked beside him, matching his pace perfectly. They moved through the crowd of aliens who pressed themselves against walls and columns to stay as far away as possible. A small maintenance drone floated past them, its sensors blinking. Rex barked once, a sharp sound that echoed through the hall. 3 aliens fainted immediately. Daniel sighed. This was going to be a long 48 hours. The conference room had walls made of transparent metal that let everyone see inside. Daniel sat at a curved table with Rex lying quietly at his feet. Outside the room, dozens of aliens pressed against the barrier, watching with a mixture of fear and fascination. Some held recording devices. Others simply stared. Ambassador Quilvin entered through the main door, followed by Dr. Hessia and 4 other council members Daniel hadn't met yet. They took their seats across from him, maintaining as much distance as the table allowed. One of them, a floating jellyfish-like being, kept drifting backward whenever Rex shifted position. Let us begin, Quilvin said. His eye stalks focused on Daniel while the other 2 watched Rex constantly. The Coalition Council has reviewed the incident in the arrival hall. We have also examined the preliminary data about your species and these creatures you call dogs. We have concerns. I understand, Daniel said. Ask me anything. Dr. Hessia pulled up a holographic display between them. Images of wolves appeared in the air, hunting in packs, taking down prey animals much larger than themselves. According to Earth records, these are the ancestors of your companion creature. They are classified as apex predators, pack hunters, highly intelligent and adaptable. They nearly drove several other species to extinction on your world. That's true, Daniel admitted. Wolves are incredible hunters. And yet, Dr. Hessia continued, her scales shifting to a confused purple color, your species chose to bring them into your settlements, to breed them selectively, to create variants like the one beside you now. Why would any intelligent species do such a thing? Daniel leaned back in his chair. It started over 15,000 years ago, maybe longer. Humans were hunters too. We weren't as fast or as strong as wolves, but we could think ahead and use tools. Some wolves figured out that following human hunters meant easier meals, the scraps we left behind. Humans figured out that having wolves around meant better warning systems against other predators. A symbiotic relationship, one of the other council members said. This one looked like a collection of crystals held together by energy fields. But that doesn't explain the domestication process. It wasn't all practical, Daniel said. He reached down and scratched behind Rex's ear. The dog's tail thumped against the floor. Somewhere along the way, both species realized something. We weren't just useful to each other. We actually enjoyed each other's company. Wolves that were friendlier got more food. Humans with wolf companions were safer and more successful. Over thousands of years, those friendly wolves became dogs. You selectively bred for docility, Dr. Hessia said. You removed the aggression? Not exactly. Daniel shook his head. We bred for loyalty and trainability. The aggression is still there. Rex could be extremely dangerous if he wanted to be. But he doesn't want to be. He wants to be with me. He wants to help me. That's what thousands of years of partnership created. Not a slave, a friend. The jellyfish being made a sound like bubbles popping. The translator rendered it as distress. This makes no sense. Predators serve themselves. They don't form attachments outside their own species. The risk is too high. Daniel pulled out a tablet from his bag. "May I show you something?" Quilvin nodded. Daniel activated the tablet and projected images into the air beside Dr. Heshia's display. The first image showed an ancient human burial site. Beside the human skeleton lay the skeleton of a dog. "This grave is over 14,000 years old," Daniel explained. "When this human died, their dog was buried with them. With honor. With ceremony. We found hundreds of these sites across Earth. Humans mourned their dogs. They loved them enough to want them close even in death." The council members went quiet. Dr. Hesia enlarged the image, studying it carefully. Daniel showed more images. Dogs pulling sleds through snow, saving human lives. Dogs guiding blind humans through crowded streets. Dogs sitting beside hospital beds, providing comfort to the sick. Dogs playing with human children, gentle despite their strength. Dogs working alongside human police and soldiers, risking their lives to protect people they'd been trained to help. "On Earth," Daniel continued, "we have a saying. Dog is man's best friend, and we mean it. There are over 500 million dogs on my world. They live in our homes. They sleep in our beds. We spend billions of credits every year on their food, their medical care, their happiness. When they die, we cry, we grieve. Some humans take days off work to mourn a dog they loved. This is," Quilvin paused, searching for words, "unprecedented in coalition records. No species has ever formed such bonds with predators. Most species struggle to form bonds beyond their own family groups. Maybe that's what makes humans different," Daniel said quietly. "We have a capacity to love things that could hurt us, to trust things that are dangerous, and in return they love us back. They protect us. They die for us." Captain Borlan, who had been silent until now, leaned forward. His massive frame made the chair look tiny. "But this creature, this Rex, what if he decides one day that he doesn't want to follow you anymore? What if his predatory instincts override his training?" Daniel looked down at Rex, who looked back up at him with those calm, trusting eyes. "Rex is 8 years old. I've had him since he was a puppy. In all that time, he's never once hurt anyone who didn't threaten me first. He's met thousands of humans. He's been around children, elderly people, people in wheelchairs, people with disabilities. He's gentle with all of them because that's what I taught him to be." "You taught a predator gentleness?" Dr. Hesha sounded amazed. "I taught him that protecting people doesn't always mean using teeth. Sometimes it means being calm when everyone else is scared. Sometimes it means sitting still so a child can pet your fur. Sometimes it means being exactly what people need you to be." Rex yawned again, completely relaxed despite being surrounded by aliens who feared him. Ambassador Quilvin's eye stalks turned to look at each council member in turn. "We need to see this demonstrated. Tomorrow you will present Rex before the full station population. You will prove that what you say is true." Daniel nodded. "We'll be ready." The biodome stretched out like a piece of captured wilderness, with strange alien plants growing under artificial sunlight. Daniel stood at the center of a marked circle while thousands of aliens watched from elevated platforms that ringed the space. Their voices created a constant buzz of nervous energy. Security forces lined every entrance, weapons ready. Rex sat beside Daniel, calm and alert. His ears tracked the sounds around them, but he showed no signs of stress. Just another day with his handler. Ambassador Quilvin's voice echoed through speakers. "We have gathered to witness a demonstration of the claimed bond between human and predator. Daniel Reed will now show us that his creature can be controlled and poses no threat to coalition citizens." Daniel took a breath and began with the basics. "Rex, sit." The dog was already sitting, but he shifted slightly to show he'd heard the command. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "Rex, down." The dog lay flat on his belly, head resting on his paws. "Stay." Daniel walked away, putting 20 feet between them. Rex didn't move. His eyes followed Daniel, but his body remained perfectly still. Daniel counted to 30, then called out, "Rex, come." The dog sprang up and trotted to Daniel's side, sitting automatically when he reached him. The movement was smooth, natural, and completely non-threatening. Still, several aliens in the front rows backed up. "These are basic commands," Daniel explained. "Every trained dog knows them. But let me show you something more complex." He pulled several objects from a bag. A ball, a rope toy, a metal cylinder, and a wooden block. He set them in a line, then walked Rex to the opposite side of the circle. "Rex, fetch the ball." The dog moved forward, weaving between the objects until he reached the ball. He picked it up gently in his mouth and brought it back to Daniel, dropping it at his feet. Now fetch the cylinder. Rex returned to the line of objects and brought back the correct item. Daniel repeated this several times with different objects. The dog never made a mistake. Dr. Hessia's voice came through the speakers. The creature can differentiate between objects and follow complex instructions. Impressive, but this doesn't address our primary concern about safety. Daniel nodded. You're right. Let me show you something else. I need a volunteer. Someone small. Someone who would naturally be prey for a predator like Rex. The crowd went silent. No one moved. Then slowly a figure emerged from one of the platforms. It was a rabbit-like alien, barely 3 feet tall with long ears and huge eyes that showed white all around. Its fur was pale blue and it trembled as it descended the ramp toward the circle. Are you sure about this? Quilvin asked through the speakers. We can find another way to demonstrate. The small alien's voice was high and frightened but determined. No, I want to see. I want to know if the human speaks truth. Daniel knelt down to bring himself level with the alien. What's your name? I am called Pip, the alien said. On my world, creatures like yours hunted my ancestors. We know the fear of predators in our very bones. But I have watched you with him. I have seen how he looks at you. I want to understand. Okay, Pip, Daniel said gently. I promise you'll be safe. Rex down. The dog lay flat again, making himself as non-threatening as possible. Daniel guided Pip closer, stopping about 5 feet away. See how he's positioned? His head is down. His eyes are soft, not focused in a hunting way. His mouth is relaxed. These are all signs that he's not in a predatory state. Pip took a tiny step forward, then another. Rex's tail began to wag slowly, sweeping across the ground. The small alien froze. That's a good sign, Daniel assured him. It means he's happy, friendly. He knows you're scared, and he's trying to tell you he won't hurt you. Pip moved closer until he stood right beside Rex. The dog remained perfectly still, only his tail moving. Slowly, Pip reached out one small paw and touched Rex's fur. The crowd gasped. But Rex just lay there, patient and gentle. Pip's trembling began to ease. He ran his paw through the thick fur, clearly amazed by the texture. He's so warm, Pip said, wonder replacing fear in his voice. And his eyes. They're not empty like a mindless beast. There's something there. Something that thinks. Something that chooses. Then something happened that no one expected. A construction beam that had been improperly secured high above suddenly broke free. It fell toward the circle, heading straight for where Pip stood. Daniel saw it and dove forward, but Rex was faster. The dog lunged upward, placing his body between Pip and the falling beam. The metal struck Rex's shoulder with a heavy thud. The dog yelped but kept his position, using his body to shield the small alien from the impact. The beam clattered to the ground. Security forces rushed in. Medical teams appeared. But Daniel reached Rex first, his hands checking the dog for injuries. Rex's shoulder was bruised and he limped slightly, but nothing was broken. Pip stood frozen, staring up at Rex. He saved me. The predator saved the prey. Dr. Hessia materialized beside them, her medical scanner already active. This defies all natural instinct. Predators preserve themselves. They don't sacrifice for prey species. Daniel looked up at her, his arm around Rex's shoulders. That's because Rex doesn't see prey. He sees someone who needed help. Someone smaller and weaker who was in danger. That's what I've trained him to do. Protect, not hunt. Quilvin descended from his platform, moving faster than Daniel had seen him move before. All 4 of his eye stalks focused on Rex, who sat patiently while Dr. Hessia ran her scans. The creature was injured, protecting a being it had just met. A being that resembles its natural prey. This is not predatory behavior. This is something else entirely. Pip moved closer to Rex and gently touched the dog's head. Rex's tail wagged once, gentle and reassuring. The small alien looked up at the thousands of watching aliens and spoke in a voice that carried through the speakers. This is not a monster. This is a guardian. The crowd erupted into sound. Some voices argued. Some expressed amazement, but the fear that had dominated the gathering was changing into something different, something like wonder. Daniel helped Rex stand, supporting his injured side. He's just my good boy, he said again. And good boys protect people. That's what they do. 3 days after the demonstration, Daniel noticed the looks had changed. Aliens still kept their distance from Rex, but now curiosity mixed with the caution. Some even stopped to watch when Daniel walked Rex through the station's corridors during their scheduled exercise time. Dr. Hesha had cleared Rex to return to normal activity despite the bruised shoulder. The dog moved without any sign of pain, though Daniel kept their walks shorter just to be safe. They were heading back to their quarters when Daniel's communicator buzzed with an urgent message from Ambassador Quilvin. "Report to the diplomatic wing immediately. We have a situation." Daniel changed direction, Rex keeping pace beside him. They entered the diplomatic wing to find it crowded with council members and security personnel. Captain Borland stood near the center of the room, his expression grim. Beside him was a tall, angular alien with metallic skin and cold eyes that reminded Daniel of a hunting bird. "This is Commander Rathis of the Talon Imperium," Quilvin introduced. "He has brought serious accusations before the council." Rathis stared at Daniel with undisguised hostility. "The Talon Imperium has reviewed all available data on humans and their supposed companion animals. We believe the demonstration was staged. We believe these creatures are actually biological weapons, trained to appear docile while waiting for orders to attack." Daniel kept his voice level. "That's not true. Rex has never attacked anyone who didn't threaten me first." "Convenient wording," Rathis said coldly. "You admit the creature is capable of violence. You admit it has attacked before. What's to stop humans from using these weapons against coalition members once you've infiltrated our stations and planets?" "Rex protects," Daniel said. "He doesn't attack on command. I couldn't make him hurt an innocent person even if I tried." "So you say." Rathis pulled up a holographic display. "But I have discovered something interesting in your Earth databases. Military working dogs, police dogs, guard dogs. All trained to attack on command. All used as weapons by human security forces. How is your Rex different?" Dr. Hessia stepped forward. "Commander, those are specialized roles. The majority of Earth dogs are companions, not weapons. The data clearly shows this, does it?" Rathis pulled up more images. "Or does it show a species that has successfully weaponized apex predators and is now attempting to convince us they're harmless? If humans can domesticate wolves, what else might they domesticate? What's to stop them from trying to domesticate us?" The words sent a chill through the room. Daniel saw several council members exchange worried glances. Rathis had touched on a deep fear and he knew it. "That's paranoid speculation," Daniel said. "We brought dogs into space because they're family. Because we couldn't imagine exploring the galaxy without them. Or because they're the perfect infiltration tool," Rathis countered. "Make us feel safe around them, then use them when the time is right." Quilvin raised a hand for silence. This debate could continue indefinitely. "Commander Rathis, do you have actual evidence of malicious intent or merely suspicion?" Before Rathis could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red. A voice came over the communication system. "Chemical contamination detected in sections 12 through 18. All personnel evacuate immediately. Repeat, evacuate immediately." The room emptied in seconds as aliens rushed toward the exits. Daniel grabbed his communicator to check the station map. Sections 12 through 18 included the Cultural Exchange Center, where a meet-and-greet event was being held. Hundreds of aliens were in that area. "Rex, come." Daniel ran toward the contaminated sections instead of away from them. Captain Borland's voice called after him to stop, but Daniel didn't slow down. Rex ran beside him, matching his pace perfectly. They reached the edge of Section 12 to find it sealed off by emergency doors. Through the small windows, Daniel could see aliens collapsed on the floor. Others stumbled around, clearly affected by whatever gas had been released. Warning signs flashed on the doors. Toxic atmosphere, no entry without protective gear. Daniel didn't hesitate. He pulled his shirt up over his mouth and nose, knowing it wouldn't do much but better than nothing. He overrode the door controls using his diplomatic access codes. The door slid open with a hiss. The gas burned his eyes and throat immediately. Rex whined but followed Daniel inside. The dog had been trained for search and rescue operations years ago. Those instincts came back instantly. Rex's nose worked overtime, filtering through the chemical smell to find living beings. The dog moved quickly through the corridors, Daniel following despite the growing pain in his lungs. Rex found the first victim, a small alien curled up behind a decorative planter. Daniel grabbed the alien and dragged them toward the exit, his eyes streaming tears. They went back in. Again and again, Rex found them in side rooms, in closets, in corners where they'd collapsed trying to escape. One of them was Ambassador Quilvin, unconscious near a sealed door he'd been trying to open. Daniel's vision began to blur. His legs felt weak, but Rex kept moving, kept searching. The dog found 2 more aliens in a maintenance corridor. Daniel pulled them to safety, then collapsed himself. He tried to stand but couldn't make his muscles respond. Rex stood over him, barking loudly. The sound echoed through the corridor. Security forces in protective gear rushed in, drawn by the noise. They found Daniel unconscious with Rex standing guard over him and 3 aliens, refusing to move despite the toxic air burning his lungs. Dr. Hessia's team loaded everyone onto medical gurneys. When they tried to separate Rex from Daniel, the dog growled for the first time since arriving at the station. Not an attack. A warning, a promise that he would not leave his human. Let him stay, Dr. Hessia ordered. Sedate them both if you have to, but keep them together. As Daniel was wheeled toward the medical bay, Rex walked beside the gurney, limping slightly from his still healing shoulder. His breathing was labored from the gas exposure, but his eyes never left Daniel's face. In the evacuation chaos, no one saw Commander Rathis slip away from the diplomatic wing with a small device in his hand. No one noticed his satisfied expression as he watched the rescue unfold from a safe distance. Daniel woke to the sound of steady breathing beside him. His throat felt like sandpaper and every breath burned. Medical equipment beeped quietly in the background. He turned his head and saw Rex lying on the floor next to the bed, the dog's head resting on his front paws. Someone had placed a medical monitoring collar around Rex's neck. You're awake. Dr. Hessia appeared in his field of vision, her scales a calm green color. Don't try to talk yet. Your throat needs time to heal from the gas exposure. Daniel tried anyway. Rex? His voice came out as a rough whisper. Is fine, Dr. Hessia assured him. Bruised shoulder from the beam incident, moderate gas exposure, mild dehydration. Nothing that won't heal. He refused to leave your side, so I allowed him to stay. It seemed to help both your recovery rates. Daniel reached down. Rex's tail thumped once against the floor, but the dog didn't lift his head. Conserving energy like the trained professional he was. You saved 6 lives, Dr. Hessia continued. She pulled up a holographic display showing medical readouts. Ambassador Quilvin, 3 delegates from the outer systems, and 2 station workers. All of them would have died if you and Rex hadn't gone in when you did. The gas was designed to incapacitate quickly and kill slowly. Another 10 minutes and they would have been beyond help. Who released it? Daniel managed to ask. Dr. Hessia's scales shifted to an angry red. We're still investigating. But there's something else you should know. I've been studying your species more deeply since you arrived. I've accessed Earth's cultural databases, not just the scientific ones. I've watched your films, read your books, studied your history. She sat down in a chair beside the bed, her movements slow and deliberate. I found something I didn't expect. Humans don't just keep dogs as working animals or even as companions. You grieve for them. You create memorials for them. You tell stories about them for generations after they die. There are monuments on Earth dedicated to dogs who showed courage, buildings named after them. Humans cry when their dogs die. Real tears. Real pain, Daniel nodded. His eyes felt hot just thinking about it. He'd lost 2 dogs before Rex. The pain had been real each time. This changes everything, Dr. Hessia said quietly. I thought I understood the domestication process. I thought it was about utility and evolution. But it's not just that, is it? You love them. Genuinely love them. The way you love other humans. More than some humans, Daniel whispered. Rex has never lied to me. Never betrayed me. Never judged me. When my father died, Rex was the only reason I got out of bed some days. He needed me, so I had to keep going. Dr. Hessia was quiet for a long moment. We don't have anything like this in the Coalition. Some species form family bonds. Some create partnerships for survival. But no one has ever loved a predator. No one has ever cried over a creature that could kill them with one bite, but chooses not to. The door to the medical bay opened. Ambassador Quilvin entered, moving slowly. His exoskeleton showed burn marks from the gas, but he was alive. He approached Daniel's bed and stood there, all 4 eye stalks focused on him. You came for us, Quilvin said. When everyone else ran away, you ran toward danger. You brought your companion into lethal conditions to save aliens you barely know. Why? Daniel looked at Rex, then back at Quilvin. Because that's what we do. Humans and dogs. We protect people. It's who we are together. The investigation is complete, Quilvin said. Commander Rathis released the gas, he confessed. He believed that by creating a crisis he could prove that humans were dangerous, that you would use Rex as a weapon, or that you would flee and show cowardice. He did not expect you to risk your lives to save ours. What will happen to him? Dr. Hessia asked. He will face trial in the Talon Imperium courts, Quilvin replied. But that is not why I came. I came to tell you, Daniel Reed, that the Coalition Council has reached a decision. Dogs will be allowed in Coalition space. More than that, we are creating a new category in our laws. Bonded companion species. We recognize now that what you have with Rex is not ownership or domestication in the traditional sense. It is a partnership, a friendship, a bond that transcends species boundaries. Daniel felt tears on his cheeks. He didn't try to hide them. Thank you. Quilvin moved closer to the bed. Slowly, carefully, he extended one of his limbs toward Rex. The dog lifted his head, watching. Quilvin gently touched the top of Rex's head just for a moment. Thank you, Rex. You showed us something we did not know was possible. You showed us that love can exist between predator and prey, between species that should be enemies. Rex's tail wagged weakly. Over the next few days, something remarkable happened. Aliens began visiting the medical bay. Not to see Daniel. To see Rex, they came in small groups, nervous but curious. Pip came every day sitting beside Rex and telling the dog stories from his homeworld. Others brought gifts, treats from their planets, toys, blankets. Dr. Hessia documented everything with scientific fascination. They're forming attachments, she told Daniel during one of his recovery sessions. These aliens who were terrified of Rex are now bringing him presents. They ask about his health. They want to know if he's comfortable. Some of them have started asking if there are dogs available for adoption on Earth. Daniel smiled, even though it hurt his healing throat. What did you tell them? I told them to contact Earth's diplomatic mission, Dr. Hessia said. I also told them that having a dog is a responsibility, that it requires dedication, training, and genuine love. Several of them still want to proceed. She paused, her scales shifting to a thoughtful blue. I've put in a request myself. For after my research tour ends, I would like to meet a dog. Perhaps even bond with one if one would accept me. Daniel reached down and scratched Rex behind the ears. The dog pressed into his hand, soaking up the affection. They're good boys, Daniel said softly. All of them. And they make us better than we are alone. 1 year had passed since that first chaotic day at Harmony's Gate Station. Daniel stood in the Grand Assembly Hall watching aliens and humans mingle together, and scattered among them were dogs, golden retrievers, border collies, even a few small terriers. Each dog wore a vest identifying them as certified companion animals, and each had a handler who'd gone through extensive training. Rex, now older and moving a bit slower, sat beside Daniel as always. The dog's muzzle had more gray in it than before, and he spent more time napping than he used to. But his eyes were still sharp, still full of intelligence and loyalty. Ambassador Quilvin approached them, his movements more familiar now than they'd been a year ago. He'd gotten used to being around Rex, even learned to pet him properly. Daniel Reed, the council is ready for you. They walked together toward the ceremonial platform at the center of the hall. Aliens from dozens of species lined the walkway. Daniel recognized many of them. Dr. Hessia, who now had a golden retriever of her own named Sunshine. Pip, who volunteered at the new Interspecies Companion Training Center twice a week. Captain Borlan, who claimed he still didn't understand dogs but always carried treats in his pockets. The platform held members of the Coalition High Council, beings who represented thousands of worlds. In the year since Rex had saved those lives, the Coalition had changed in small but significant ways. 3 more species had requested permission to start companion animal programs on their homeworlds. 2 universities had opened departments dedicated to studying the human-animal bond. And most importantly, fear had slowly transformed into curiosity. We gather today, Quilvin announced to the assembled crowd, to recognize an act of extraordinary courage. 1 year ago, during a terrorist attack on this station, 2 beings entered lethal conditions to save lives. They asked for nothing in return. They expected no reward. They simply did what they believed was right. Daniel felt uncomfortable with the attention. He'd just done what needed to be done. Beside him, Rex sat calmly, used to crowds now. The Coalition Cross-Species Valor Medal has never been awarded to a non-sapient being, Quilvin continued, until today, for his actions in protecting life without regard for his own safety. For demonstrating that courage and compassion transcend species boundaries, we award this honor to Rex, companion of Daniel Reed. 2 council members approached carrying a large medal on a wide ribbon designed to fit around Rex's neck. They placed it carefully over his head, adjusting it so the medal rested on his chest. Rex sat perfectly still through the whole process, though his tail wagged slowly. The crowd erupted in applause. Different species made different sounds of approval, but the meaning was universal. They were celebrating a dog, a creature that many of them had feared just a year ago. Daniel knelt beside Rex, adjusting the medal so it wouldn't bother him. "Who's a good boy?" he asked quietly. "Who's the best boy in the whole galaxy?" Rex's tail wagged harder and his tongue lolled out in what Daniel had always called his happy face. The dog didn't understand medals or ceremonies, but he understood Daniel's tone. He understood love. Dr. Hesia approached after the ceremony ended. Sunshine, her golden retriever, walked beside her with the calm confidence of a well-trained dog. The 2 dogs sniffed each other in greeting, then Sunshine lay down beside Rex in a gesture of respect for the older dog. "I never thought I'd see this day," Dr. Hesia said. "When you first arrived, I was terrified of Rex. Now I can't imagine my life without Sunshine. She's changed everything about how I experience the world. I'm calmer, happier, more patient. She's taught me things I couldn't learn from any textbook." A small crowd had gathered around them, aliens who'd adopted dogs or who were in the process of learning to bond with them. They shared stories. A military officer from a warrior species talked about how his border collie had helped him cope with combat trauma. A scientist from an isolated species mentioned that her dog had taught her about unconditional acceptance. Pip pushed through the crowd with a young rabbit-like alien beside him. "Daniel, this is my nephew, Tiv. He wants to meet Rex. I've told him all about how Rex saved me." Tiv was even smaller than Pip had been that day in the biodome. His ears trembled with nervousness as he approached. But he approached anyway, drawn by curiosity and trust in his uncle's stories. Rex, sensing the child's fear, lowered himself flat to the ground, made himself as small and non-threatening as possible. His tail wagged gently. Tiv reached out one tiny paw and touched Rex's nose. The dog remained perfectly still. "He's so gentle," Tiv whispered. "I thought he'd be scary, but he's nice." "That's because he knows you're little," Pip explained to his nephew. "Rex is smart enough to know how to behave around different people. That's what makes dogs special." Daniel watched this interaction with a deep sense of satisfaction. This was what he'd hoped for all along. Not medals or recognition, but understanding. A galaxy where humans and aliens and dogs could all exist together. Learning from each other, protecting each other. Ambassador Quilvin joined them, looking down at the scene of a tiny alien child petting an old German shepherd. "You know," he said quietly to Daniel, "when you first arrived, I thought dogs were humanity's secret weapon. I was right, but not in the way I imagined." "What do you mean?" Daniel asked. "Dogs are weapons against loneliness," Quilvin said. "Against isolation. Against the walls we build between ourselves and others." Rex didn't conquer the coalition with teeth and claws. He conquered it with patience and love and the simple demonstration that beings from different worlds can trust each other completely. Daniel looked at Rex, who now had 3 alien children gathered around him, all of them petting his fur and giggling at how soft it was. The old dog's tail never stopped wagging. "He's just my good boy," Daniel said, but his voice was thick with emotion. "He's always been just my good boy." "No," Quilvin corrected gently. "He's everyone's good boy now, and because of him, the galaxy is a little bit kinder, a little bit braver, a little bit more willing to trust. That is a legacy worth more than any medal." As the ceremony continued around them and aliens mingled with humans and dogs, Daniel realized something profound. Humanity hadn't brought dogs to the stars to show off their achievements or demonstrate their power. They'd brought dogs because a human without a dog is incomplete, and in showing the galaxy that simple truth, they'd taught everyone that the capacity to love, to trust, to bond across impossible divides wasn't uniquely human after all. It was universal. It just needed someone to demonstrate it first. Rex yawned, showing all his teeth, and absolutely no one flinched. They'd finally learned to see what Daniel had known all along. They weren't looking at a monster. They were looking at a very good boy,